Yo, what's up? What's up? Hopefully, you guys can hear me. It's your guy Ray Hama, one versus a million. This is the Hama Force. We are into the geek verse right now. Yes, we'll be talking about Predator Badlands. This is my take on the whole show. I mean, on the whole movie. Oh man, it was pretty awesome. So, and I give it a strong 4.5 star out of five. And yeah, and I'll give my reasons, and yeah, we'll go over the what happened in the movie real quick. So, it's a quick, simple plot, but yeah, and I got some videos to show in relation to the movie. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Check it out. Please hit the like, share, and subscribe, and hit the follow over here on the Rumble side. So let's get into it.
With reckless abandon, I scream into the empty.
All right, yes, that's a yeah, that was a fitting, a very fitting song for this movie. So, man, I gotta get into it. Ah, okay. So yeah, as you guys, may already, or you should know by now, if you haven't seen the movie. But yeah, our boy Deck, I mean, what how the trailers gave so much, of the movie. So yeah, because they kept continuing giving us, a whole bunch of damn trailers. And when there's a bunch of fans, diehard fans that have complained about, such. But yeah, man, I'm going to this. I'm like, okay, I'm seeing our boy Deck. Uh he's tussling around with his brother, which they're tussling around, damn it, they're brotherly tussle like it's like on some near death kind of shit because you see our boy Deck get tossed off of the damn cliff. And I mean he managed to climb his ass back up and it was like, hey, um, I'm still here, brother. And so it didn't know that yeah, Deck's dad, his father, hates him. And I'm like, huh. Now why does he hate his son so much? I'm like they're just showing us their evil, tyrannical ruler. So yeah, and I'm like, okay. And but before it's like rite of passage into into the clan, um, which which would be his first hunt. And it was cool how his brother showed him on their grid inside the ship when he told him to come back to the ship. He showed him this grid which looks really cool, and I like how the art designers created to be in like a different little hologram grid of different people or entities or whatever versus how other systems, other alien systems have shown that we have seen in the past. So that was decent, and didn't know until I watched some videos, some Easter egg videos on YouTube about how um, they was showing, they was showing different creatures, different different alien forms. They would like to go after, and he chose a cat to be the unkillable, whom his father fears. And I forgot how to pronounce his father's name, but yeah. But so he chose it, but his brother was like, nah, because his brother cared for him, you know, to some weird Yapcha degree. So yeah, he cared for me. He was like, nah, man, nah, you don't want to go down, huh, man? You ain't ready, man. But he still kept that as his, as his mark, his desire, one to, take that one out to prove himself to become, a full fledged Yapcha, to prove himself to his father. But the father pops up, he pops up, damn it, and Deck, he's he's trying to show honor to his father. Uh, he slices his hand, blood comes out, boom, as a basically a show of respect, honor to his father. But his father, really hardly paid that any mind. He didn't really give a damn. He couldn't stand him so much so to where he told the older brother to to take him out because he considers him as weak. And I'm like, oh man, because he's like what one of the smallest Yautja out there. So I'm like, yeah, okay. And to entrap his brother, to entrap Deck, the father pulls out this device that basically entraps him, which is a cool, little, very handy device, I may say, when it comes to, you know, it fits them, the whole predator style. So yeah, so they can trap their prey and all that. But yeah, and while this is going on, I'm like, oh come on, man. I kind of had a feeling that the brother was going to start attacking the father, which he did. Instead of taking out the son, he told his brother, "Be brave, brother." And right as he started attacking the father, he uh, he sends Deck off into the ship. And it was cool to see how the ship basically, how he rigged it to snatch Deck back into the ship, and basically had it set to go off to to planet Gemma, where the Death Planet, where he had it set. But while fighting, Deck sees and he screams, seeing his brother getting taken out by his father. His father sliced his head off, man. I'm like, damn. I'm like, man, you an evil son of a bitch. You know. But then Deck, he arrives on on a death planet, and he happens to have, his weapons. This planet is, and I like how they did the planet too. It was pretty cool. Um, with the new, peculiar, different ideas, I will say for life forms, what you would think there would be on the planet. They they put so much focus on the detail of it to make it different than what you've seen in other sci-fi films. When it comes to different planets and stuff, like to have your mind to go in a little bit more of a wonder, I would say. But he arrives here, he has his weapons. Oh, okay, okay, cool. My boy's strapped. I mean, he's strapped up now. But he ends up getting attacked them by this one creature or whatever that's there in their forest. Got these tentacles, whatever, and it's attacking him and shit. And so therefore he lost like a majority of his shit because the creature took some of it. I'm like, damn. Creature's like, yeah, I'm gonna take some of his shit so he don't have nothing to attack with. Take that out first. So I'm like, damn, this big ass crazy looking creatures and got some intelligence about them. But yeah, but you see him using the bow a little bit and just a tad bit in this movie. I like that bow and arrow he has. I'll call it like with a plasma bow and arrow. That was tight. But his grenades, that was gone. I'm like, damn, those little freeze grenades, that'd have been great. And yeah, and so, but he had his blade, his I don't call it like I don't know what kind of blade you call that shit. It's like a fiery plasma blade looking thing or whatever. Yeah, so it looked like it can possibly combat a saber, a lightsaber. But yeah, going on. So yeah, he's going forth, on this task to take out this callus, get him, as you would think, okay, go back and um, and show himself approved to his dad. But as you can imagine, also, you know, on when and how he would take him out. So I didn't know that, until I seen the end of it. In the midst of his journey or whatever, we see him coming up on this field of glass. And that's where we end up seeing the baby callus, which I didn't know it was a callus until, which we didn't know until in the middle of the movie, that it was that the baby callus belonged to the callus of whom he's trying to take out. And so this is where he comes across um, not Thea. Thea. And this is where he comes across Thea now. And so and Thea, she's strapped up like entangled in this tree branch, and so yeah, there's some destruction there going on, whatever. But it's like, okay, I'm like, damn, how'd you get all the way over there? But she ended up basically, she's a synthetic, and she's basically her body's half. She's missing her legs, and her legs is where the rest of the crew got demolished by this callus, by the same callus whom he's trying to hunt. And she makes a deal with him after he damn near got eaten by this big giant bird, this bird like creature, which has some tellers because in this field also you see later on you'll see in the field these plants, these like poisonous plants that the winged creature used to help him to catch his prey. Because what he'll do is, as you've seen, he'll throw rocks in the field to set him off. Boom! So you get stung by one of those damn poison spikes, and then end up becoming incapacitated and can't move and shit. And then this bird will come and tear you up. Uh, so yeah, so he, with Thea's help, he managed to you know get through it, and they end up working out their deal where she helps him, find the callus and and uh and with that, he's by taking him to where the callus was, where the callus first attacked, where she first got attacked by the callus. She's able to also retrieve her legs to retach her legs back. And in this, I noticed the synthetic humans, they basically, yeah, was not as strong as the synthetics in Alien Earth. Those different franchise, but I'm like, yeah, because those synthetics, I don't know if it was just what was her name, the protagonist in there, the synthetic short, short black hair girl, Marcy, yeah, yeah. I don't know if it was just her or whatever, but damn it, well, there's another one that showed damn it a lot of strength, but yeah, she showed a decent amount of strength, enough strength to rip off the head uh, of one of the xenomorphs. So if you're going off Dude's premise of what a synthetic is from Alien Earth, then it would be of the high appropriate to say, okay, that you should have made it to where it's damn near to the exact as his synthetics that he have created for it to be in Alien Earth. But no. And I was through this house, I mean, I kind of really hoping, man, this girl gets her legs back, man. you know, and she was a chatty one too, boy. I'm like, ooh, shit, oh man. But and yeah, and so and them come across their own little Grogu. Was what they call him Bud, Bud, the Callus baby, yeah, and and shocking enough, hey, he's able to strode through there, damn it, like it's normal grass through the meadow, through the I don't say meadow or sharp meadow grass. He was able to breeze through there with no problem. And so yeah, and therefore he became like their companion. But at first, Deck was reluctant to work with basically any of them. They because he believes they did a Yautja. He believes in the Lone Ranger route. Talking about a Yautja, hunts alone. So therefore, you see that he ends up learning to adapt now, and therefore they became like his companions now. So and then yeah, then they make it to the Callus. As it says, this is the mother Callus, and but uh, but Deck he set it off. He set off an explosion to trigger the Callus to come through when they made it to the area where she first attacked. I don't know why they want to always, have with these creatures, that it's a she, and if it's a this, and if in the species it's a she, then she's more powerful than the male species. I don't know what the hell is up with all that shit. But he sets it off. But this was after Deck, got pissed off with Thea because she alerted Tessa, whom she's deemed as her sister. But you see here, her sister doesn't recognize her as a sister. She's just looking at this whole thing as, hey, that we are, synthetics. We have a programming, and that they should follow it. And they've been given emotions to use to exploit and to manipulate humans. But yeah, so she comes after Deck and Callus, has their bout and shit. And you see here the Callus in their fight that that the Callus is able to regenerate. He retest his head back. But we gotta salute to the bravery of Deck though, of going Kratos mode, damn it, with the Callus. But short lived, because that's all that was to no avail because the damn Callus he could regenerate and damn it, and the Callus basically got the obviously got the upper hand on literally the upper hand on Deck, whereas the Callus had her hand on Deck's body when she slammed it to the ground. Then like how Godzilla did King Kong. And I'm like, damn it, Godzilla did that to King Kong twice. I realized it. Stopped him and looked at him like, motherfucker, you ain't shit. I could fuck you up and rip you apart right now if I wanted to. So after, the Cows did that to Deck, that's when Tessa, Thea's supposedly uh, self-proclaimed sister, pops up and freezes uh, both Deck and the Callus. And so she managed to capture it. Now, these synthetics, including Thea, are from Weyutani's corporation. And so, yeah, as they're captured and shit, and Deck, he's pissed. He's like, you betrayed me. I trusted you. He managed. But, she ended up helping Deck to escape, to get out. So, you know, Guess you could say that somewhat Deck may look at that as some points. As some points for her. But but I'm like, damn, she could at least told Deck like beforehand, like, hey, I'm gonna be calling my sister to come and get me because I'm not supposed to remain here, be here like this. So yeah, this is a little short expedition or whatever we're supposed to be on because she told them their mission was to retrieve a living sample of the callus because that Wayland Utani wants to use the that element, that that regenerative factor of the callus. Which hey, I'm saying it's any of the corporations, opportunistic as they are, you can imagine any one of them would do that. And so yeah, but they managed to escape and all that shit. And was he managed to escape Deck, but she, got transported back to the base, to the Whalen Utani base, and Deck, him popping up there, boom, doing what he doing, and he managed to use the. I like how he used the plants, those poisonous plants, as grenades, for when he took out the synthetics, because he ended up agreeing or with the idea of freeing the callus. So so we see that he had to change of heart, of instead of looking at taking the callus out and bringing it back, to fulfill his rite of passage and to get revenge on his father. He chose to work with the callous child, to reunite them, back together. So him and the synthetic, you see them both, all three of them basically working together, taking out to take out the synthetic team, and and managed to free his mother. And when she burst out, man, yeah, boy, she was causing just number havoc, wreckage. And then Tessa came out with this mech with this mech box suit that basically is designed to carry them gigantic crates you see. She managed to get a hold of that and use that damn to take out the callus, but the callus and the predator was tackling at it, and then managed to take that out, and then the callus, when it got its chance, devoured Tessa. As keep in mind who is a synthetic, and yeah, and so when I thought, damn it, they really reunited and shit, and um, because during their fight, well, I mean, I thought, damn, that she was gonna tear him apart, but she smelled her son, her son's scent, because the son spit on Deck as a sign of showing, hey, did he acknowledge him, that he respects him, or you know, that he considers him friendly. And so that helped him in the end because he was going to get torn apart. But the mother still smelling the scent on him and everything. And Deck, basically you could tell by them looking at each other that it was like, oh man, yeah. Uh, I made a mistake, Deck says, He was like, "Hey, let's work together." He said, "Hey, let's work together." You know. Then a moment later, I mean, after they had um, their little warrior head to head embrace, which I thought, hey, that was cool. A moment after that, as you remember, the Callus, this is out sometime right after, she devoured uh, the synthetic Tessa. She ends up exploding from the inside because Tessa used the grenade that she took from Dex and Brother's ship because she ended up founding the ship, sometime in the movie. So yeah, because when she was messing with it, she noticed that it froze her hand. Didn't have no major effect to her like that, but because she didn't, let it go all the way, explode all the way. So she figured, hey, this could be useful, and she quickly figured that that was a good time to use it, and so therefore, and that killed the mother callus, which pissed off the baby callus, Bud, and so but emerging out of that, all messed up and everything, Deck ends up taking her out, but to get the finishing blow, the last blow, Bud comes through and rips off her spine and just shouts with a victory cheer. Yeah, we won. We got the bitch. We got this bitch. Kill my mother, why don't you, bitch? So I thought that was, pretty cool to see. And at this time, boom, uh, Thea, she managed, to reattach her legs back, and everything. That was cool to see too. Before they end up freeing the mother, this when they were showing that she was joining the fight, and fighting and combating against the other synthetics, that she was using her legs, which traveled all the way to the base camp, to get back to Tessa. And I'm like, damn, that was pretty cool how she was smart, and using her legs. And her legs by themselves was just whooping motherfuckers. So yeah, that was cool to see. Yeah, she finally got her legs back. And Deck decides, okay, this is the time, boom, they all roll with each other, you might as well say. Yeah, they roll with each other back to his planet so he can bring the head back of the of Tessa. He brought it back and gave it to the king, to his father. And his father looked at him like, well, what is this? Kind of like, like, hey, how come you ain't bring something to look more ferocious, extravagant, you know? Deck was like, hey, this is the one that made that took out the callus. So yeah, his dad should, you know, in all right, say that he should look at that as honor, that he defeated his target. His on Deck said, hey, when his father asks, okay, well, what do you want? What do you know? Deck was like, hey, I want my cloak. But the father still having hatred towards the son, just he couldn't bear it. So therefore he was like, nah, you gonna get a quick death. That's what you gonna do. And so them fighting, going at it, I'm like, damn, how this gonna go? Uh, and come to find out, boom, he ends up using the ship because his father wanted to use the cloak during combat. Basically shows me, I'm like, damn, so you must be nothing with your cloak, man, because you weren't really doing that much damage in the battle. Because when he turned on his cloak, a moment after, Deck quickly thought of it real quick, to use his ship. The the burst from the engines from his ship to blow off to blow wind towards his in the dust from around his father, so it can so he can pierce through that cloak, that cloaking system, so he could see his dad. He took him out, boom, and hey, the rest you guys already know what happened. Deck traps him, puts him in the same trap that he put him in, that he was trying to get him to be executed in. So yeah, he puts that trap on him. Damn it! And that's when they showed the king's real face, because the mask he Deck took his mask off. So the middle of talking shit, this is where Bud comes through. We see him come through full grown, and he gets the last killing blow. Damn it, because he bites his father in half and just got the munching. I'm like, oh man. I'm like, damn, that creature boy got a whole iron stomach. Yeah. And then we see in the post credits, we see where Deck, he raises he raises his hand up, in victory. Basically, he's showing that, hey, he's the new king now. We see in the end, I mean, that as they're standing there, Bud and Deck and Thea, they're observing, and Thea, she's like, "What is that? What is that that's coming?" Deck is like, "That's his mother." And you can see everybody in the background too. Everybody pull their swords out. So I'm like, okay, so this his mother must be of a clan, damn it, yeah, that doesn't get along with his father's clan. So I'm curious to see, okay, what she's gonna look like. And you see some instances when it comes to, or iterations when it comes to certain platforms, and like uh like in the video games. I believe I forgot which system it was, probably on PlayStation when it came out. The Predator video game, where you can play as the female Yautja. So I'm like, huh? I seen that. I was like, huh, that was pretty cool, because I only played it like for only so long. Then my attention shifted over to something else. But yeah, the way they ended, I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool. And I see, how they left certain, and it was revealed that they left certain things out because, budgeting and all that. So Hey, I'm pretty satisfied with it. And they said, there was a alternate ending coming or whatever. So I'm like, I don't know. For me, I'm pretty satisfied with how things ended, and it's said too that the Yautja clan, you know, have more high respect for the female Yautja, the queens. They revere her more than the king. So I'm like, there's this thing going on where the female species of every species is the more dominant one and shit. So I'm like, yeah, y'all need to just stop that shit, man. I'm like, y'all could have made this dude, the king, more powerful, damn it, than what y'all shown him to be. Like I would say the damn the Predator King in Predator Killers, that king seemed to be more stronger than this king. Hell, he obviously looking and he seems more taller and just way huger than the king in this movie. So I'm like, huh? I'm like, what is this about your mother that makes y'all like revere her and have such level of fear for her? So I'm curious about that, and there's talk too with them talking about making an obvious prequel. I mean, not prequel, but a sequel to this one. So yeah, but and I got a couple of videos too that I want to show. This that talks about Predator Badlands and so on. So yeah, let's check those out real quick. But yeah, but overall, I would say this it was a really good decent movie, and it's worth watching a couple of times.
Hello everyone and welcome back to yet another marvelous video. This one's for all the Predator fans out there because today we're going to be looking at the anatomy of the Drukhothi, the ancient alien nemesis that predators fear. It's going to be a good one, but before we get too deep into it, we do have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to the channel. It's a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Who are the Drukhothi? The Predators have always been seen as the galaxy's ultimate hunters. Brutal, disciplined, and unmatched in skill. But there's another species out there, one so ancient and mysterious that even the Yautja were scared to say their name. In the Rage War trilogy, a set of novels that go deep into the Alien vs. Predator universe, an elder predator named Kalaktu tells a story that changes everything we thought we knew. Kalaktu was one of the oldest Yautja alive, thousands of years old, carrying knowledge from centuries of hunts. And among his many stories was one about a war with something the Predators could not defeat, a mysterious species known only as the Drukhothi. By the time we reach Alien vs. Predator Armageddon, the third book in the series, we finally start to understand who these beings really were. The Drukhothi were prehistoric by galactic standards. They were older than humans, older than the xenomorphs, and even older than the Predators themselves. Their technology made Yautja weapons look primitive, and according to Kalaktu, they may have been quietly pulling strings across the stars for centuries. The Drukhothi eventually encountered the xenomorphs, and instead of destroying them, they studied and experimented on them. The very thing Weyland-Yutani dreamed of doing, controlling the xenomorphs, the Drukhothi might have already achieved long ago. Author Tim Levin created the Drukothi as an ancient civilization lost to time, powerful, intelligent, and terrifying. Since he wasn't allowed to use the engineers, he designed the Drukothi as dog-like aliens with a mix of biological and technological features that made them feel both familiar and completely alien. Even though we only get fragments of their story, the Drukothi remain one of the most intriguing and terrifying additions to the Alien vs. Predator universe. What do the Drukothi look like? The Drukothi weren't just aliens, they were something beyond that. Even among the countless species that exist, the Drukothi stood apart. They moved on 4 massive muscular legs, their bodies towering and built for dominance. 2 long clawed arms hung from their sides for precision, like tools made for hunting and destroying. There was something unnervingly elegant about them too, the way a big cat moves right before it strikes. Their faces, if you could even call them that, were sharp and stretched, almost canine but with a mechanical edge. Their eyes sat deep in the sockets, glowing faintly like something alive looking out from behind glass. Karen Snedden, a science officer aboard the mining ship DSM O'Marion, once reported that a fully grown Drukothi could reach up to 12 feet in length. Now here's where things get weird. Not everyone agrees on what they looked like. Some claim they weren't wolf-like at all, but more like massive arachnids with pale, slick skin, jet black eyes, and rows of needle teeth. 6 limbs instead of 4, built not for grace, but for absolute efficiency, the kind of creature that could tear through armor like paper. But no matter which version you believe, everyone agrees on one thing. The Drukothi were never explorers or diplomats, they were hunters. The Drukothi were said to be carnivorous, capable of consuming just about any organic material they came across. Whether it was for survival or dominance, they always hunted. It's part of what made them so feared. They thrived in hostile environments. Their methods of reproduction were also very unnerving. Even though they were incredibly advanced, their mating rituals were very primal, almost like those of spiders. The Drukothi had a strange and unsettling way of continuing their species. The males would pass a fluid to the females, who carried and nurtured the eggs inside their biomechanical bodies. It didn't take long. Within just a few days, the offspring would hatch, already strong enough to survive on their own. Some accounts suggest that after mating, the female Drukothi would turn on her partner and consume him, not because she was starving, but because it was instinct, a natural part of their life cycle. What is their history? The history of the Drukothi is one of the darkest and most mysterious parts of the Alien vs. Predator universe. Hardly anything is known about where they came from or what led to their downfall, but what little we do know paints a picture of a civilization so ancient it existed long before humanity, maybe even before the Yautja themselves. According to Yautja legends, the Drukothi left the Milky Way galaxy eons ago, venturing into the unknown. But make no mistake, the Predators don't speak of them with respect. They speak of them with hatred and fear. To the Yautja, the Drukothi were dangerous, godlike beings who tampered with life itself. At some point in their history, the Drukothi came across the xenomorph species, and instead of avoiding them like most sane civilizations would, they started experimenting on them. In the year 2159, the crew of the mining ship DSM O'Marion made a shocking discovery on LV-178, the wreck of a massive Drukothi ship. It looked like it had crashed centuries ago, but inside the ship, they found something even worse: rows of dormant xenomorph eggs waiting. From what the evidence showed, it seemed like the Drukothi tried to contain a xenomorph outbreak but ultimately failed. That entire region of LV-178 became a tomb. Centuries later, Weyland-Yutani stumbled upon the ruins, and they sent a team to investigate, hoping to find something they could use. Of course, it didn't end well. The xenomorphs woke up, tore through the team, and the company barely made it out alive. Years later, a group of scientists known as the Founders discovered something even bigger: a massive artificial structure built by the Drukothi. Inside, they found preserved xenomorph specimens, strange biotech, and a living guardian known as the Phase protecting all of it. The Founders tried to use the ancient technology to strengthen their forces, but what they did almost destroyed humanity. The Yautja later said that this wasn't an accident, but the Drukothi had planned for this to happen. They were still manipulating events, making sure humanity never became powerful enough to threaten them. What their true motives were, nobody knows. What technologies do they command? The technology of the Drukothi wasn't just advanced, it was straight up unnatural. When explorers stumbled upon one of their derelict ships on LV-178, they realized they weren't looking at something built, they were looking at something grown. According to Karen Snedden, the entire vessel was alive. Its surface wasn't made of steel or alloy, it was made of living tissue. The walls pulsed like veins. Metal fused seamlessly with flesh, and the circuitry itself seemed to breathe. It was a perfect fusion of biology and machinery, the kind of thing that shouldn't even be possible, yet there it was, drifting in the void. What's even crazier is that the Drukothi didn't stop there. Their influence went way beyond their own ships. Even the Rage, a faction of living spacecraft later seen in the Rage War trilogy, carried traces of Drukothi design. Like their creators, these ships were alive, capable of healing themselves and adapting to any environment. And then there's the Phase, one of the strangest and most mysterious creations linked to the Drukothi. It was discovered inside a massive Dyson sphere-like structure, basically an artificial world floating in space. Nobody knows for sure what the Phase really was, but many believe it's the ultimate expression of Drukothi biotechnology, a living guardian built to protect whatever secrets their ancient civilization left behind. How did the Drukothi breed or command xenomorphs? We know the Drukothi didn't just find the xenomorphs, they used them. But how exactly did a species, even one as advanced as the Drukothi, manage to control something as uncontrollable as a xenomorph? From what we learn in the Rage War trilogy, the Drukothi were masters of biotechnology. Their ships weren't built like ours, they were grown. Their tools were alive, their structures breathed, and their technology blended flesh and machine in ways that shouldn't even be possible. So when it comes to the xenomorphs, it's believed that they didn't rely on brute force or containment, they used biological control. The books don't explain exactly how they did it, but fans and researchers have theories. Some believe the Drukothi engineered pheromones or neural signals that allowed them to guide the creatures, kind of like how a xenomorph queen controls her hive. It's not official canon, but it makes sense given what we know about their biotech. What we do know for sure is that the Drukothi didn't just study the xenomorphs, they bred them. They raised and experimented on them for reasons no one fully understands. The wreckage found on LV-178, later tied to the Drukothi, showed signs of huge breeding chambers packed with dormant eggs. Whatever they were trying to do down there, it definitely wasn't random. The Drukothi saw potential in these creatures, maybe as weapons, maybe as tools, and they took full advantage of it. But like every story that involves trying to control a xenomorph, it didn't end well. Whatever control the Drukothi had eventually broke down. Their creations turned on them, and their civilization paid the price. What are their weaknesses and limits? You know, for all their power and knowledge, the Drukothi were never untouchable. In the end, it wasn't some great war or rival species that wiped them out, it was their own creations. The very thing that once made them unstoppable became the reason they fell. From what we learn in the Rage War trilogy, the Drukothi were masters of biotechnology, but that brilliance turned into a curse. Nothing the Drukothi made was ever fully mechanical. Everything they created was alive in some way. Their machines, their cities, even their weapons were all connected, like parts of a giant living body. It was power unlike anything else, but that kind of power always comes with a cost. When things begin to fail, their creations didn't just stop working, they changed. They twisted, adapted, and some even turned against the ones who made them. The ruins on LV-178 tell that story clearly. What was once a great Drukothi city became a graveyard. The same xenomorphs they had been breeding and studying took over everything. The wrecked ships and broken breeding chambers were filled with dormant eggs, a sign of a disaster that grew out of control. Whatever control the Drukothi had over the creatures didn't last. The xenomorphs wiped them out, just like they had done to every species that tried to control them. In the end, though, it wasn't the creatures that destroyed the Drukothi, it was their own pride. They thought they were untouchable, smarter than humans, stronger than Yautja, always in control. But they forgot the simplest rule of all: nothing stays under control forever. Long after the Drukothi were gone, the Yautja didn't even remember them as gods or heroes, they remembered them as a warning, a reminder that even the most advanced species can be the cause of its own destruction. How did the Drukothi change the galaxy, and are they still a threat? The Drukothi might be gone, but their presence still lingers. Even after their empire collapsed, the things they built didn't just vanish. Some Yautja tales say the Drukothi interfered with other species, maybe even with humans, so no one else would ever get too strong. Their legacy didn't die with them either. It lived on through the Rage, a ruthless group that used old Drukothi biotech to build living ships and strange hybrid soldiers. These ships were alive, able to heal, to learn, and to move as one mind. Every part of them carried traces of that same unsettling genius the Drukothi were famous for. And then there's the Phase, a living guardian found inside a massive artificial world the Drukothi built a long time ago. When a group of human scientists known as the Founders tried to unlock its secrets, it all went wrong. What they unleashed almost wiped out humanity. The Yautja believe that wasn't an accident, they think the Drukothi planned it that way. A final trap to make sure no species, not even humans, could ever reach their level again. So, are the Drukothi really gone? Maybe they were destroyed by their own creations on LV-178, or maybe, just maybe, they never died at all, and they're waiting somewhere out there in the dark. Marvelous verdict. Well, with that, we've come to the end of yet another marvelous video. Now, we want to hear from you. What do you guys think happened to the Drukathi? Do you believe they were wiped out by their own creations, or did some of them escape somewhere beyond our galaxy? And if they are still out there, then what do you think they're waiting for? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give us a like and subscribe to our channel for more. Thanks for watching, stay safe out there, and have a marvelous day.
Damn. So shit. So that's my first time seeing that. That video from Marvelous Video. Shout out to them guys for coming out with this, man. Because of this piece of the Lord of the Xenomorphs and Predators. Because as this is within that lore, um, when he said, "Well, it's the War trilogy or something like that," man, far be it from me, man, because I wouldn't know. Hold on, let me see if I can be heard. Okay, I'm back. Yeah. So just in case you guys didn't hear me, yeah, shout out to Marvelous Videos. That was a pretty, good, decent video, man. That was the first time me seeing that. So it was cool, to share that with you guys, for you guys to watch that with me, for the first time. So yeah, this video, this is part of the lore of the Predators and the Xenomorphs. Yeah, because 'cause I like how they tied both of them in there. They're basically it's a part of both of their lore because, for one, the Predators fear the Jukathis, and uh, and they used to enslave and control the Xenomorphs. So I would like to see them. Dan Trachtenberg, I believe that's his name. Yeah, I wonder if the Predator team is going to go into that. The revealing of other species of another species uh, that the predators fear. And I wonder, will it be these Jukathis, and will they go into dive into showing the power source or their power sources of how they created their ships and just their whole kingdom and slash planet, and what's the power source that they use to control the xenomorphs. So if they was to dive into that, that would be pretty cool. So yeah, I have one more. That was pretty cool. So yeah, I'm really excited to see that, that concept, that alien concept of the about the Drukati. Like I said, I didn't know about them. This is my first time hearing about them, and yeah, they look like they're ferocious, man. They don't play no games. So I'm like, damn. So what is it about them, man? Like, that causes the predators to be in such fear of them and despise them. So let's go into this last video I got for you guys, and then we're out.
While we've all been caught up on Predator Badlands' release, fans were quite caught off guard when the film introduced us to Deck, a While we've all been caught up on Predator Badlands' release, fans were quite caught off guard when the film introduced us to Dek, a Predator protagonist whose debut hunt in itself turns out to be equally brutal and heartfelt. By the time the film ended, fans had figured out various hints that suggested an all-new Alien vs. Predator crossover, and the cliffhanger ending especially had us wondering about Dek's future story. Today, we'll be exploring all the connections that establish that Predator Badlands is setting up an AVP crossover and tell you all about this theory in detail. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Weyland-Yutani's expanding role, the crossover catalyst. While the film does not introduce any xenomorphs, Predator Badlands does have several connections to the Alien franchise. Out of these, one of the more obvious ones is regarding Dek's ally Thea, who is a Weyland-Yutani Corporation synth portrayed by Elle Fanning. The film follows Dek's journey as a young Predator from the Yautja clan, who teams up with a damaged synth named Thea to prove himself and defeat their adversaries. While both the Alien and Predator franchises have existed in the same universe for a long time, it's quite exciting to witness Weyland-Yutani's expanding role, as the corporation seems to be acting like a crossover catalyst. The film confirmed that Weyland-Yutani is well aware of the Yautja and is hoping to study their warrior species and culture, with the possibility of them weaponizing their traits in the near future. While they're already known for doing the same with xenomorphs, most fans were not shocked to see that they have now set their eyes on the Yautja. The film confirmed their motives when Tessa captured Dek and planned to bring him to Weyland so that they could run experiments on him, and Weyland-Yutani's interference has set the perfect foundation for a crossover between xenomorphs and predators. During Predator Badlands' premiere, director Dan Trachtenberg himself stated that the film is a crossover, since the Weyland-Yutani Corporation plays a huge role in it, while producer Ben Rosenblatt talked about how the crossover was an organic decision. Trachtenberg was insistent on not adding a human in the film, as it would make it easy for the audience to identify with the character, and he then suggested that they should introduce humanoids or robots. This thought process led him to explore the entry of the Weyland-Yutani Corporation, and it almost felt like a natural collision of these two worlds, since they were known for making robots and were also set in the same universe as the Predator franchise. Synth allies and stakes for both franchises. While the trailer for Predator Badlands didn't mention anything about synths, the film is filled with these characters, including Elle Fanning's role as Thea, a bisected robot who strikes up an alliance with Dek in exchange for his help in finding her legs. Additionally, Fanning also plays a second synth named Tessa, and the Weyland-Yutani Corporation even takes things further by sending a fleet full of synthetics that were all played by Cameron Brown. Fans have noticed that this film has more synthetics than the entirety of the Alien films combined, which is quite an impressive achievement for a film that's focused on the Predators. Of course, this also meant that the film was filled with scenes where the Yautja are ripping these synths apart, while Dek embarked on an adventure on a so-called death planet of Genna. The film also sheds light on an unlikely alliance between synths and Predators, as Dek comes across Thea, who helps him navigate the dangers of Genna in exchange for a lift to the Kalisk's lair to find her severed legs. Soon enough, we learn that Weyland-Yutani Corporation has sent Thea to Genna to retrieve the Kalisk, but their first interaction had resulted in this creature tearing her legs off and leaving her stranded. Moreover, her own synth lookalike Tessa had turned against her, and Thea then had no option but to join hands with Dek to regain her limbs and face the Kalisk. Classic characters and multiverse hints. While talking about the crossover, producer Rosenblatt has revealed that there's a possibility that Arnold Schwarzenegger could be reprising his role as Dutch in the future movies. He further revealed that Arnold has been in talks with Dan and has expressed his interest in making a comeback, and they're really excited about him coming back to the franchise after having played such a huge role in making it so iconic. Fan theories also suggest the return of other legacy characters, such as Naru and Mike Harrigan, and we'll only have to wait to see if any circumstances such as cryostasis or return as multi-generational heroes can bring these classic characters back to the big screen. So far, Weyland-Yutani's interest in experimenting on the Yautja species could give rise to a full-fledged arm race, and we can see them create a whole new hybrid threat if they succeed in getting their hands on even one Yautja, paired with the possibility of classic characters awakening from cryostasis to fight in wars between synthetics, human corporations, Yautja, and xenomorphs. We definitely have a whole lot to look forward to in this Alien vs. Predator crossover. Precedents and canon, building toward a true AVP event. All this talk about Alien vs. Predator crossover got us wondering how it all started out, and as it turns out, this idea was first presented in Dark Horse Comics all the way back in 1989. And Dark Horse Comics started publishing Aliens branded comics in 1988, and also released their first licensed Predator comic series in 1989. It was only a matter of time until they merged the two together for a crossover comic series. Upon its release in 1989, a three-part storyline known as Alien vs. Predator marked the start of this major sub-franchise, which soon led to another full-fledged 5 5-issue limited series release in 1990. The comics included some core elements such as the Yautja hunting the xenomorphs as a rite of passage and partnership between predators and humans, and they were such a huge hit that Dark Horse Comics continued to publish these stories as part of limited series, short stories, and one-shots for nearly 30 years, until Disney bought 20th Century Fox and Marvel attained the rights to Alien and Predator comics. While this was all about the comics, these characters have clashed against each other right from the 2004 release of Alien vs. Predator, which was soon followed by a sequel titled Alien vs. Predator Requiem in 2007. Now, Predator Badlands has taken the crossover to a whole new level by centering on a predator as the protagonist, and it will be quite interesting to see how this builds the momentum for a much-anticipated crossover in the future. What the directors and producers tease about the future. After Dan Trachtenberg established the possibility of a major Alien vs. Predator crossover, he talked about focusing on the plot over backstory. He'd already referred to the lore from the original Predator movie to create a roadmap for Predator Badlands, but this film barely dipped into the door slightly to give us a peek into Deck's storyline. The film even ended on a cliffhanger wherein Deck returns to his homeworld with Thea and Bud after having avenged his brother and even defeated his father in combat. However, the ending sequence hints that the trio might have a lot more threats in the future as Deck's mothership inches closer on the horizon, and we'll only have to wait and see how this plays out for him in the next installment. Even though fans have acknowledged that the film wraps up in a neat package, with a chance of no direct sequel, there's no doubt that it has laid the foundation for a crossover, and we can definitely expect to see more direct interactions between the aliens and predators. In fact, Trachtenberg has revealed that he has already had an idea for a follow-up project, and we only have to wait and see how it plays out. Marvelous verdict. Until then, we hope you enjoyed exploring all the ways in which Predator Badlands has set up the biggest Alien vs. Predator crossover in the history of the franchise. Right from the alliance between Deck and Thea, to fan theories and creator plans for future installments. Even though it seems like it might be some time before we see these species fight against each other in the lingering presence of the Weyland-Yutani Corporation, Trachtenberg's statements hint at these crossovers coming to us sooner rather than later. While we wait for them, you can check out Predator Badlands to get an idea of the crossover's foundational basis, and we'd love to hear what you think of it in the comments below. If you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, like, that would be awesome, dude. Yeah, so we can expect to see Arnold Schwarzenegger come back. But then probably all the characters to come back. Well, definitely for it sounds like most definite. You know, seems to be of a most definite for Dutch character to come back into the franchise. So as they hinted at that at the end of Predator Killers. And like he said in his video, where Arnold Schwarzenegger is excited and eager and want to get back into the franchise. So I'm wondering if Danny Glover's character, if Danny Glover, if he's, if he has the same interests. And the old girl who played Naru. So yeah, I think a lot of fans are really asking for her to come back. So I'm wondering now. It leads me to believing, okay, that those two are. It's highly likely where those two may end up coming back into the franchise. And what he said also in this video that Dan Trachtenberg said he wanted to focus on the plot, rather than the storyline. And I'm in agreement with doing a video because that it would be cool to see a little bit of Deck's background, But they said that he left it. That Dan Trachtenberg left it up to that being within the comics, So if you want to get his backstory and all that, and know why his dad hate him, you just go into the comics. But yeah, this is pretty cool, man. So please be on the lookout for more views and also more anime and movie nights. And speaking of which, I'll be having one here possibly like in an hour from now, where we'll be watching Chainsaw Man, the movie, and some of One Piece, where we left off from before. We're going to be starting from there. So, because I'm excited with that, man, with that franchise, with the One Piece. as well, and I'm excited. I still haven't seen this movie of Chainsaw Man yet, so I've been waiting to watch it for the first time with you guys. So with you brothers. So yeah, if you guys want to come through, the link for my channel should be in there. So yeah, come through on the Rumble and check it out. It will be Chainsaw Man the movie and One Piece. So we'll be watching that later on here in approximately in about like an hour or so. Yeah, because I gotta give me something to eat. Yeah, it's because I'm geeked over, man, over this One Piece. Ah, and with this movie too, because I'm itching to see it, man. So yeah, and I'll try to get my thoughts in between, my 2 cents, my not too long 2 cents, whatever. So maybe like under 2 minutes, 2 minute break in between, and yeah. So that'll be it. Hit the like, share, subscribe. And this your guy, Ray Hama, one versus a million. I'm not your fan. I'm not your stand, for I am brother. Peace.